What's up, everybody? Welcome to Cinema Trip Reviews. I am your host, Wyatt, and this week I am joined by Vern. This is the first episode of our Halloween Spooktacular 2023, where it's just a whole month
Spooky.
of nothing but horror reviews. This is my favorite time of year. I love getting into horror movies and just doing nothing but horror reviews. Normally, I do a little bit more than normal during this time of month, just some solo reviews, and of course, bringing on some special guests and everything. But we're kicking it off with a bang this year. This is pretty much a brand spanking new movie, which I
Yeah.
mean, I tend to do. It is Cinema Trip Reviews.
Mhm.
Now, this one was not marketed well at all. There was barely
I
any
had
buzz around it as
I
it
had
was
no
coming out.
idea. I didn't even know anything. I didn't watch a trailer. I didn't know anything about this movie before you told me,
Oh wow!
Cobweb, check
So
this out.
you didn't get to watch a trailer before you saw the
I
movie?
didn't look at a thing before watching this movie. I went blind as a bat into this movie. So I
See,
was and seeing
that's
it was
something I wish I could have
2023.
done.
Well, seeing 2023 so even surprised me. I'm like, I haven't heard a peep about this movie. So I
Yeah,
was
I
very
mean,
surprised.
there's a good reason for that too, because it was just not marketed well at all. They didn't really put the money in to market this. And not only that, this came out the same weekend in limited theaters, mind you. It wasn't a wide release. Came out the same weekend as Barbie and Oppenheimer. So
Oh my
everybody was
god.
going to see those movies. Nobody was worried about going to see this flick. Everybody that I follow on Twitter, as far as like just movie reviewers and other podcasts and everything, everybody was hyping this movie up. Like, this movie is not getting the attention it deserves. It's pretty fucking wild. People need
Yeah.
to go check it out. And
Yeah.
I've been meaning to watch this here for a while now, and unfortunately I just didn't get the chance to until now. And I posted on Twitter last night. I was like, man, I'm kicking myself because I should have watched this movie
Yeah.
sooner.
Ah, shit, man. I wish that I would have known about it, but it's the perfect time of year to start
It
watching
is.
things like this. So
It
so
is, and it
I'm
makes you
really
wonder,
glad.
like, why wouldn't they release this movie in October? Like, it's
Yeah.
about Halloween somewhat. Like, it's set during that week leading up to Halloween and everything. So it's weird they didn't release it in October, away from Barbie and Oppenheimer.
Right?
That way they can kind of promote it. And there's really nothing else that's coming out this month that I could think of, other than Saw. I guess that's the big one that's coming out. But
Yeah, but still,
I don't know.
it'd be able to compete with that for at least a few weeks, you know?
You would think, especially. I mean, I didn't even find out until today. Seth Rogen produced this movie.
Wow, okay.
And this
Interesting.
was his first horror movie that he's been involved with as far as producing and everything, which is weird because whenever you think about like maybe Seth Rogen producing something, you would assume there'd be kind of some kind of comedy or something inserted, but there's barely like any comedy in this movie. Like,
I don't
this
think
is a
there's
very
any
serious
comedy
flick.
in
Yeah,
this
this is a very
movie.
serious movie. But I mean, what really drew me to it was, I mean, the main stars of the flick. I mean, you got Anthony Starr, who plays
Yeah,
Mark's dad.
Homelander.
You got
I was like
Homelander in this movie.
as soon as I saw him, I was like, you can give him brown hair and give him a beard and do everything you want, but that's fucking Homelander. And from the jump, I was just like, I don't trust this dude. I
Well, I was
don't trust
thinking, I was like, this dude, like, I'm not sure this dude just isn't a psychopath in real life, because
I
he's
know.
so damn good at playing that kind of character. So, and
I know.
everything I see him in, he is that type of character. So, I don't know. People need to keep an eye on Anthony Starr and what he's doing
Yeah.
when he's not acting and stuff.
What's he up to?
And it also stars Lizzie Kaplan, who's
Oh my
made a
god.
well-known name for herself here over the past couple years. She's in a lot of shit.
She was great. She was amazing in this, man.
She plays a very different role than the
Yeah.
dad, but she's also her own sort of like, I don't know. She's wild. She has
Her
her
own
own quirks and
psycho.
everything. You got Cleopatra Coleman as Miss Divine, the substitute teacher you see throughout the movie, and of course you get
Angel.
Woody Norman, who plays Peter, who's the young boy that you follow throughout the movie. And by the
Mhm.
way, I don't even know, like, we didn't even mention, we're reviewing Cobweb, for those who who didn't see by the banner here at the top and see the title of the video and everything. We're reviewing Cobweb, which came out a couple months ago.
Yes.
But this was directed by Samuel Bodine, who he directed it's called Batman Ashes to Ashes. It was like a short film, I guess, in like
Okay.
2014 or something. And he's been involved with some TV work and some stuff. I guess there was a show called like Tank. It's an acronym for something. I don't really know too much about him, but he's been involved with a lot of different TV work. But I think he has done another feature film, but this is the one that's really kind of blown up for him.
Gotcha.
Um, Now, watching this, I got a ton of different vibes from this movie. I mean, there's a little bit of like some Hereditary, I feel, mixed in there, mixed with some People Under the Stairs by Wes Craven, as far as like the parents go, and like stuff in the walls.
Mhm.
For those who haven't check out our People Under the Stairs review we released like a year or two ago. There's kind of just influences from other horror movies just kind of thrown in there as well. But I mean, when you look at the story, it seems kind of somewhat cliche in a way. Like the
It
boy hearing
it
things at
did.
night, he's having nightmares and stuff. And then you don't know if, like, I mean, the parents are saying, "Oh, it's all in your head." You know, you're just hearing things. I mean, there's rats in the walls or whatever. It's they play it off as nothing, but of course, it goes much deeper into there. And then I didn't even know where this was going to go. I thought I had this movie figured out by halfway
Mm,
through, and then it fucking throws a curveball at you there in the last half hour or so. But I mean, I have some mixed feelings. I really enjoy this movie overall. I would say I do have some nitpicks, but we will get into that. That's it. More so lies with the back half of the movie itself.
mhm. Yeah, I thought it was amazing, to be honest with you. I really liked it the whole way through, and I it did start slow to me, where I was kind of like you
Hmm.
said, it felt very cliche. I was just like, okay, this is just like the normal type of horror movie. Like it just kind of, and it's not even like a real bloody or scary one at that, more or less. I was
Hmm.
like, it's just kind of slowly moving along here. He's hearing some knocking in the wall, he's knocking back, he's talking, and it's just like at one point it jumps off and it just rolls for the whole rest of the movie where you're
Yeah,
you're like, "Oh my god.
I'll
Oh my
say.
god. Oh my god. Oh my god." Like, so it's definitely worth the watch, I would say there. So,
Man, it does get pretty wild. But I mean,
we
we
could
just
just
hop right into
start
it. I didn't
off.
really have too much. Yeah, I mean, the whole movie takes place over the week leading up to Halloween here.
Mhm.
And I mean, you get a kind of a montage there in the beginning of just kind of his daily, like Peter's daily routine, I guess. Like
At
going to school,
school,
you kind
dealing
of
with
see that he is
bullies.
like the loner by himself. Yeah, he has to deal with bullies every day. He goes home, his mom's teaching him piano and stuff, and then he goes to bed, and that's where you kind of get your, what's happening through the movie here. I mean, you hear like scratching on the walls, and then you get the
Mhm.
banging. And you're like, oh my god, what's going
Then
on here? And yeah,
you hear,
you think it's a
"Peter,
normal occurrence.
Peter."
Yeah, and I mean that's what's even crazy. Like, as soon as you hear like you can play it off as like rats in the walls or something. But as soon as you hear like Peter, you're like, oh shit, what the
It's
fuck's in
like,
these walls?
so, "Mom, Dad, there's something in the walls," and he's screaming, and they don't believe him, of course.
Yeah, they just say it's his overactive imagination. You get a feeling that this is a kind of a nightly occurrence with him,
Yeah.
like going and having to wake up his parents and everything. And they seem just like somewhat normal parents as of right now. But it doesn't last long
Normal
because
at
the whole movie. They're like, "What's up with these people?"
yeah, like, they're normal, but they still seem like there's something off with them even at the beginning here, where it's
Hmm.
I don't know if they're just, like, neglectful or what, like, they just seem like there's not the full relationship between him and the parents, there's something off there, so
Yeah.
you could feel that immediately.
Yeah, and I'm surprised this wasn't like an A24 movie just because of how much like this movie really puts you into the atmosphere. The atmosphere is very dark and like the tone of it is I just love how it's paced and how it was shot. It's just
Yeah.
it puts you in that mood. And I just love like the cinematography of everything. And there is a couple different creepy moments that like actually gave me goosebumps while I was watching.
Yeah,
I was like, "Oh my god,
hell
what
yeah.
the hell?" The next day he ends up going in, and of course this asshole kid, man, just keeps just wait for recess.
It's
It's
fucking
almost
bully.
recess. You better wait.
"Imma get you at recess, you kid
I'm
hard
gonna
at
get you.
recess."
And
And then
every kid, I guess, knows this. This kid's going to beat Peter's ass at recess. And then they get introduced to the new substitute, Miss Divine. I guess the teacher is like out of town or sick or whatever.
Miss
It
Divine.
doesn't matter because I mean, Miss Divine is a constant, person throughout this movie that kind of
Yeah.
checks in on Peter because she sees that there's something wrong. I mean, he's the only kid that doesn't go to recess. He says he doesn't like recess. They even have that kind of bonding moment when the big spider like crawls up on his desk and she kind of teaches him how to like put the cup over
She
top and then
catches
save
it,
it.
takes it out, puts it out the window, doesn't kill it, so you could tell that she's a sweetheart, you know?
Yeah, exactly. You really get introduced to her there, and that's where they're kind of the bonding kind of starts happening. And then, like even during class and everything, she kind of starts paying more attention to him and
Mhm.
everything. Just kind of she sees something. There's something off about Peter, and I feel like most teachers kind of go towards those kind of children just because who knows what's happening at home. Maybe they are being neglected.
Sometimes they definitely they need the most attention, or you need to
Yeah.
figure out, is there a bigger issue here, so it seems all normal here, seems like normal behavior.
Yeah, I mean, she does take it a little far. I mean, this whole movie goes far, but I mean, as a substitute teacher, she kind of takes it farther than
Yeah,
she should, as far as looking out for Peter. But I mean, while they're kind of bonding everything, she asks him like what he's going to be for Halloween. He doesn't really know, and that's when like he goes home and asks his parents like, "Hey, I want to go trick or treating," and you're
really.
like, "Well, we don't do that here."
Trick or Halloween? No,
Halloween,
you
we don't
you
do
know
that
what
here.
happened. We're not doing that. You could get kidnapped, anything could happen to you, and
Yeah,
they're a little
Anthony Starr
overprotective.
goes, the Homelander goes in, just the very creepy, just like,
She vanished on Halloween.
What happened?
Well, nobody knows. She went out trick or treating and she disappeared.
even just mentioning it, she's just like, "I don't wanna talk about it. He doesn't need to
No,
know about this."
no, we're never bring it up again.
Your kid's excited about Halloween and everything, and just, like, you immediately just he's already having nightmares, like, at nights, and he's
And
waking
this
you
is
up,
what
but you're
you're
just like,
giving him?
"Yeah, a little girl went missing right before you were born. That's why we don't want you going out in the streets alone.
You want that to happen to
Do you
you?
want that to happen to you?" It's like,
No,
"No.
no.
No, I
Go
don't."
upstairs to your room where you hear voices.
Yeah. So that night, he gets another, couple knocks, and then, "Hey, Peter." He's like, "Oh,
He's like,
what the fuck's
"Oh,
going on?"
shit, it's saying my name." Like, at this
And then
point, he's like, "Whoa," like,
yeah, and that's where they even say, like, "Don't tell your father," that, like, and it's like, "What does that mean? Why wouldn't you tell your father or whatever?" And then he goes and tells his father,
he
and he's
screams
like,
where he's like, "Dad," and he comes in, and he's just checking out the wall, of course, doesn't hear anything, says, "It's rats."
It's them damn rats. You know what we
Yeah.
gotta do? We're gonna fix this." So they go out to the shed the next day, get some of that rat poisoning, and I feel like they used way too much rat poison along those walls
They
out
just
on the outs in that
sprinkled
hallway.
it around the whole house, around the walls, like,
It's just like lined thick across the whole walls and everything.
they're gonna kill them rats, that's for damn sure, but it does
Yeah.
seem a little excessive, but hey,
And
it is
he
what it
even
is.
mentions like, "Oh, it has like a sweet smell. It smells like cinnamon or
Smells
whatever."
like
And he's like, "Oh,
cinnamon.
you put that in the back of your mind here for a while." Like it's something that like you don't even think about. You're like, you just kind of lock it in, and then whenever possibly comes up later, you're like,
You're like,
"Oh fuck."
"Oh."
But I mean, this is like Peter, like during all this, he's like, "Wait a minute, this this is gonna kill them?" And he's like, "Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
you
man,
got to
yeah.
make some what does he say? He's like, you got to make some tough decisions to, help your family or save your family or whatever. You got to do what you got to do." And then he's like, I make it sound nice. He says it in probably the most creepy way possible
The most
because Anthony
Homelanderish
Starr.
way.
Exactly. You got to
Sometimes
do
you just
whatever
gotta
you
do
can.
what you gotta do, you gotta kill these
Yeah.
rats, 'cause, like, however the
And
fuck
then he
he
just
says
like
it.
playful slap, like, "All right, buddy, let's go."
Yeah, let's get outta here, let the rat poison do its job.
The next day, this is where it kind of starts evolving a little bit. As the kids are leaving class, the teachers kind of collecting all their drawings and everything. And then you get kind of what it seems like is a cry for help. I mean, it's the picture, it's all black with Peter like in his bed, and all it says is "help me"
It
across the
just
top
says,
with the
"Help
window
me."
there. And
Like,
you're like,
what
how are you supposed to take that?
Yeah, exactly, like, I feel like that is a cry for help. That is telling the teacher, "Hey, I need something, help," and he just of course, she's a concerned teacher, so she does take it a little far, but she ends up
Yeah.
going to her house, to the
Yeah, and
parents'
I was
house.
like, "Whoa, whoa, you should not be making house calls, lady. Maybe you
Yeah, you
should have
should've
called
took this to
told
the
the
principal.
principal." Yeah, you should
Took
have did
this to the
something.
principal first. That would have been the first step, not going straight.
Exactly.
How'd you even get their address? Like, what the
Right?
hell?
She go in and sneak into the files and look at her address and everything, do some
There's extra scenes here that we didn't see. She's on some
but
espionage shit.
yeah, there's gotta be some kind of chain of doing, the proper channels here. You gotta go to the principal, and like what he even brings up later, like, you gotta find the signs. Like, is he like, does he know about
Is
stuff
he
he should
showing
know
up with
about?
bruises? Is he
Yeah.
talking about crazy things? Is he talking about sex and things and all
Sex
this,
or stuff that
just
a normal kid shouldn't be talking about and everything. Yeah,
mm,
some of those signs, and it's like none of those other than just the drawing. And she's like, "Nope, that's
like,
enough. I'm
nope,
going to the kid's
nope.
house." this.
Hey, I mean, she's not wrong though. At the end of the day, she wasn't wrong.
Every interaction between like her and that family, 'cause she has to talk to the mom at first, and that and Lizzie Kaplan just plays it so well, like that the kind of the neurotic, like everywhere, just like he just has an overactive imagination. You know how kids are. Like,
Mhm.
don't worry, I'll talk to him. We'll talk. Like his father will talk to him. Like, don't worry about you. And she's like, I was a school teacher once. I don't think it's a normal practice to just be visiting kids'
Yeah,
homes and
she
everything,
starts calling her out on it, like flipping
flipping it
flipping
back
it
on
back,
her.
and I'm like, "Whoa, okay." Like, she's like, "Okay, you know what? You're right. I can get in trouble for this."
Yeah, and she's like, "I just wanted to make sure everything's fine." She's like, "I'm his mother. You don't think I'm looking out for his well-being and everything?" It's like, "Oh, well, I'm sorry. Sorry, lady." And then she pretty much did what she could do at that point, and then, like, immediately the mother's like, "What is this? Why are you drawing this in school? What does this mean? Why are you crying out for help?" Like, he's like,
Yeah,
"It wasn't for me. What do you mean? Like, I'm not the one saying it." And she's
it
like, "Well,
was
who is? Who's crying for?" He's like,
for
"There's no
her.
people in the walls, Peter. What are you're having nightmare. It's your overactive imagination. You can't be doing this. It makes us look bad. What are you doing, Peter?" That night, the thing in the like, because he's still like kind of been out of shape. His mother was yelling at him and everything.
Mhm.
This is where like the thing in the wall was telling him, like, listen, I've been here a while. I can tell you need a friend. I need a friend too. Like they're kind of just trying to lure him in a little bit. Like, hey, we could be each other's friend. I understand like your home life isn't going right. Your school life definitely isn't going right. I can help you. I'll be there for you. And that's when he kind of starts listening to some of this things advice that he probably shouldn't be listening to here. Because that next
Mhm.
day, that fucking when he's coming in with that pumpkin that he made or whatever, the fucking asshole bully knocks him down and just smashes that pumpkin to shit. And it's like, man, come on. Like, this kid's just a straight asshole. I mean, the dude gets what he deserves. He
The
gets his
thing
just
tells him, it's
desserts.
like, "Don't take it. You gotta fight back. You gotta stand up for yourself. You gotta, you gotta show it that you're not
Yeah.
scared and all this."
Because that next day, the kid comes in. I guess the mother made him buy a new pumpkin and everything for Peter. And he makes
He
him
even
say I'm sorry and
apologizes.
everything.
Here's
Yeah.
the new pumpkin, and Peter's just like, "Go
And that
fuck
thing's like, you
that."
gotta stand up for yourself. Like you can't let him know that you're scared of him. You gotta stand up. He should be afraid of you. And that's where
Mhm.
he's like Michael Myers, like from the Rob Zombie shit, just stalking the kid, just walking behind him through the hallways and stuff. And then like they go down to that area, and you just hear you don't even see anything. You just hear the push and then just the tumble, and then the blood curdling scream. And as you see, Peter ends up pushing this kid down the fucking flight of stairs, and this kid's leg twists like the whole way
He's
around.
laying there like Nick Chubb, bro. Like, he is fucked up. He is
Nick
like,
Chubb watching this movie over the weekend. He's
Nick
like,
Chubb's
"Oh
like,
God, no!"
"Oh, oh, no." Like, if that makes any sense to any of you out there, then that shows you how his injury is in this movie, where he falls, not falls, gets viciously pushed down the stairs by this evil little fucking kid, which I'll get to that. There is no heroes in this movie. The only hero in this movie, the only thing close to a good guy in this movie is Mrs. Divine. Okay.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. I mean, even Peter's like, I didn't mean to push him down the stairs. Like, I just wanted to give him a shove, what have you. But yeah, you get like, I like the kind of the scenery. He's sitting outside the office, and you see like the shadows inside of the window, like his mother and everything, talking with the principal. But I mean, it's crazy because I didn't think they were gonna go that far. Like, of course, he's like, oh, you got to stand up with your bully. I thought he was just gonna end up like punching him, getting in a fight or whatever.
yeah,
But
he
to see
fucked him
like
up.
what do you think, like 8-year-old kids, and he just pushes him down and just snaps his kid's leg. Like I was not expecting that at all. That was one of the first like, oh shit, where else is this movie gonna go to?
Yeah,
Like if you're gonna
exactly.
break an 8-year-old kid's leg, what else are you gonna do in this movie?
And then he gets expelled from school for that.
Yeah, he gets expelled from school and he has to deal with his father after
Mhm.
this. He goes home and the father, like his mom tells him about the picture and he's like, I want to know where you got this idea. He's like, who told you to do this? Like, where are you getting these ideas? He's like, the thing on the wall. He's like, there's no fucking thing on the walls. How many times do we have to tell you? He's like, this is enough. Enough is enough. You're grounded. He's like, and she's like, okay, we'll send him up to his room. He's like,
Go to
nope,
your
that's not
room.
enough.
It's like, "Nope."
That's not enough.
He's grounded. He's going in the basement.
To
The
the basement.
motherfucking
And you're like,
dungeon.
what do you mean the basement? And this dude, like, it's serious because this dude has to move the fridge out of the way to reveal a secret door that's padlocked and everything. Like, this movie goes to a whole nother level just by that scene alone. You're like,
Yeah,
okay, you had your thoughts about the mom and dad, but
but now
it
you
goes to a whole
know.
nother level where there's a secret door behind a fucking like a fridge. I mean,
Yeah.
you had your suspicions about the thing in the wall, like, oh, is Peter imagining things because of the trauma he may be
Even
going
still
through
at
at his
this
house
point.
and stuff? Yeah, I mean, even so, right now, yeah, like you're still thinking, is this all in Peter's mind, and he just has fucked up parents?
Yeah.
But yeah, they end up taking him down to the basement, and it's just there's really nothing in there, and they make him just sit in the middle of the floor, and they just leave him there. They just lock him in this basement, padlock the door, and put the fridge right back in front of it, and just leave him in there. And it's like,
Mhm.
Jesus Christ, this kid's like 8 years old,
They
and
just
you're just
lock
leaving
it.
him.
It's all dark down there, no lights, I don't even think there's, like there might be a light for, like, a window, but it's barely showing at
Barely,
all, if anything, but he
barely.
he starts trying to talk to the thing in the wall. He tries to see if it's there, and
Yeah,
nothing's
and
answering
nothing.
back to him, so he's
Yeah,
stuck
nothing's
down there
talking back.
all by
You
himself.
cut back to the school, and the principal. That's where like the principal's reprimanding Miss Devine. He's like, "Listen, you cannot be going to kids' houses. This is like we mentioned. Like, there's different checks and balances we got to go through with this sort of thing. Like we mentioned,
Right.
and that's where like she was saying like, "Oh, the mother, have you met the parents or anything? Yeah, they're a little off, but I mean, there was a girl that went missing, and when that happens inside of like your own neighborhood, that could affect, a family. That could affect parents of a small child if something like that happens. It's a little traumatizing, which like it kind of makes sense in a way, I guess. Um, but I mean, that just kind of makes her like wonder a little bit. That's when she starts doing even more research, going on her
Starts
phone and
Googling
everything.
things.
Cut back to Peter in a basement. He's just kind of looking around, and that's where like he moves like the one box out of the way, and he sees there's like a set of bars in the floor, and he looks down, and there's like a fucking teddy bear just
Just
laying like super
way at the
far down.
bottom,
And he's like, wait a
way at the
minute.
bottom, like
So
30 feet down.
yeah, way in the bottom. So you're automatically putting theories together, like, okay, what were these parents doing? You know about the missing girl. Were they involved with the missing girl? What's going on? And
Yeah.
and I think this movie does a really good job of kind of giving you these little bits of information going forward. And just when you think you have it figured out, they kind of pull the rug out from under
Yeah, they're
you and
like,
do
"Nope."
something completely different.
They just kill that theory one way or another,
I mean, as much as a good person Miss Divine is, she goes to the house again, dude. Like I couldn't believe it. I was like, no way she is going to this house again. And she ends up doing it
This
because she wants
time
to give him his last math test that he had, and she secretly wrote her phone number in the top
right,
right corner.
but this
Just as
time they actually invite her in, you
Yeah,
know?
and you're like, okay, that's a little weird. Like, why are they inviting her in now? Like, they were
Mhm.
so hostile about her showing up before, but now they're like, wait a minute. Why are you here? And they even like confront her, like, what is your special interest in Peter all of a sudden? Like, you're a substitute teacher. Like, why are you so involved with my child's life?
Yeah,
And he's like, "Oh, I'm just caring for his well-being," and that's where they're going through the whole thing, and, like, she gets even more offended at this point, like, "You don't have children," like, "I'm a mother," like, "You don't how do you know what's best for my child?" and everything, I mean, it makes kind of sense at the same time, but with all the signs that the teacher is receiving, you
she's
can't blame
justified.
her.
Yeah,
Yeah, and the dad is not making the case any better because as he's, like, talking to her, he's just walking around with this fucking hammer, just, like, walking around the house, and then he's, like, bleeding down his arm,
yeah, like, what the
and
hell? Like, they don't
he's
ever
like, "I was just repairing,
yeah,
part of the
just caught
shed,
it
it
on a nail,
caught it on a nail, it's just a scratch," but, like, he's fucking bleeding the
just
whole way down his arm.
bleeding, like
Leaking.
yeah, and it's just like she's just like, "Oh my god," like, it comes out of
Yeah.
nowhere.
Yeah, and it gives you that sense of feeling of, kinda dread, but, like, okay, you're not safe here. Like,
Yeah,
even though there's no signs within the house of, like, any wrongdoing, you don't feel safe and you don't feel comfortable for Miss Devine in this house, especially around the mother going at her the way she is. And Anthony
exactly.
Starr just kinda creeping around with that hammer, and it's like, just oh, man, he's just so creepy. He just
You
does
just
a
want her
great
to
job
get
of
out.
playing that character.
Just want her
You
to get
want her to
out.
get out as fast as possible, and then you have the washing machine going, and Peter hears company upstairs, so he goes up and starts banging on the walls, yelling for help. You
"Ah!"
can't hear him because of the washing machine, but as soon as like, all right, I think you should get out of here. I think you should leave. While she's leaving, the washer shuts off, and that's where you hear the banging.
What is that?
I don't know why she just doesn't go to the cops at any
I
point in this
know,
movie.
that's what I was thinking the whole time. I'm like, "What are
Especially
you
after this
doing?
part. When you hear the banging in the walls, and because she even says, like, "Can I
Where's
see
Peter?"
him?" And
Yeah.
she's like, "No, you don't need to see him." She's like, "I just wanna make sure he's okay." She's like, "Don't trust us. He's fine. Don't worry about it. You should probably leave." And you're like, even that's like,
Sus.
why wouldn't you just even let me see him? Like, if he's fine, there shouldn't be any problem with me seeing him. But like at that point, as soon as she leaves the house, she should have just went straight to the cops. Like, listen, here's the evidence that I do have.
At
Go
least
over
go
there and
check
check
it
that
out.
house out.
Yeah,
Go check it out.
go check it out. There was some banging, like, go find their son, make them,
Yeah.
like, that's
And like
oh,
she goes to her car, she's like looking in her purse, and I knew something was gonna happen because as soon as she looks up, he's just sitting there waiting at the window, like, you
it's like,
forgot your keys.
"Hey, you forgot your keys, lady. How you gonna go leave without your keys?" Still got the
Like,
hammer
oh
in his
shit.
hand.
Right? He's just walking around with that hammer. Like, bro, you are so sus right now. So sus. You're not
I
doing
didn't see
yourself
you
any
fix
favors through this
anything.
whole movie.
You
Either of
didn't
these
fix
parents, like,
anything. The whole movie. Why the hell do you have that hammer? The hell is he doing?
like they don't know how to be normal at all. Like, I don't know. I mean, we'll get to what happens eventually, but like with everything involving these parents, you would want to be acting normal as possible, and they just cannot do it.
Yeah.
During this speech, we forgot to mention, they ask like, okay, since he's been expelled, like, where's he going to be going to school? He's like, right here. My wife is she was a teacher. No better place to, no better person to learn from than his own mother and everything.
Yep.
So we're going to homeschool him here. And she's like, well, I think with the way he is, he should probably be, taught, with like, he should be
We know
have
what's
like
best for
special
our son.
care. And he's like, yeah, we know what it's best. Get the fuck out of
Get
here.
the fuck out of here, lady.
So I mean, like, as soon as you find out he's getting homeschooled, you're like, oh god, this is not something's not right. Something's not going well here with Peter. I mean, I guess it cuts to like a day or so later, but the mother is like bakes all these muffins, these pumpkin
Yeah, I'm
muffins.
like, what the hell?
Because
Put
as you find
smiley
out, they
faces
have
on them?
their backyard is just nothing but a huge big ass pumpkin patch. Even though they don't like Halloween and trick or treating, they love pumpkins apparently.
Apparently, that's her favorite flavor. It's fall. She's all about it now, but a couple of the muffins have frowny faces on them, and I'm like, what the hell? You
I
know,
didn't notice that. I
all
did
of
see
them
the
have
smiley faces.
smileys except for two of them. Two of them have frowny faces on them. And I was just like, interesting. I was wondering if that was going to come back in
That
any.
is weird. Yeah, I didn't notice that.
Yeah.
Like, this is like her switch is flipped a little bit, like, she has a huge creepy smile, like, "You can come out now, Peter, like,
Yeah. All of a
everything is
sudden,
fine."
they have a change of heart. They let him out of the
And it's
basement,
such a creepy shot because it's so dark and all that's lit is just her face with the candles, and she's like, "You can come out now, Peter." And then it's just so creepy because this kid's, like, 8 years old, and she's, like, giving him bath in the bathtub, like, and stuff,
Yeah.
or, like, 9 years old, and he's sitting like, the dad's sitting there watching, like, "We forgive you, Peter."
Don't worry,
Like, we
Peter.
don't want any. We just want promises and no more drawings and no more stories of people talking to you on the walls or anything. We want to go back to normal. And I guess, I mean, Peter, he kind of gets a sense that it'll be all right because he seems like he's, unless he's playing it off for the parents, but he's like, okay, well,
He's probably
everything's all
just
right.
more than happy to be out of the fucking
Just be out of
basement.
the basement and be
Yeah.
clean and actually have food and shit.
Yeah.
But then, of course, as soon as he goes to bed alone that night,
Peter.
it, Peter, Peter, something. Your parents are not what they seem, and you're like,
Peter,
okay, what the fuck does that mean?
where have you been? I have been looking for you, Peter.
He's like, well, who are you? I want to see you. And she's like, come
You
down.
don't
There's
want
a
to see
hole in the
me.
wall. Yeah, you don't want to see
She's like,
me.
you
I've
don't
been in
want to
here
see
for
me.
too long. And she's like, well, there's a hole in the wall. Go down there. And he like throws the ball through. And of course, there's going to be a jump scare because it holds on that hole in the wall for far too
Bro,
long. And
this
then
is
that
where I started getting freaked the fuck
the
out.
eye comes out of
It's
nowhere.
just this eye, and I was like, it's real.
It's
Oh
real. There's
shit.
actually somebody
There's
in the
actually somebody in the
wall.
motherfucking wall. Like, this is where, like, I'm even getting goosebumps thinking about it now. Like, this is where the movie just started jumping off for me, where I was like, oh my God. Like, I was
Yeah.
freaked out.
Because after you see the eye in the wall, which is, yeah, that's the first part where you really
It's
get like chills. You're
real.
like, okay, that was creepy. This is where she reveals even more information. She is his sister that the parents locked up inside of the walls,
Uh,
and she waited all this time to talk to Peter because she had to wait until he was big enough to help her escape,
yeah.
because the secret door that she's behind is behind this big like grandfather clock in this one room upstairs, and she had to wait until he was big enough to move that clock to open the door to help her get free. So I mean, this is like a lot to process because first you find like you thought this was all in his head. Now there's actually somebody in these fucking walls, and then you find out it's a sister. So you're like, why the fuck
And
did they put the sister in the walls?
he just wants to help her.
Man, this next part is probably one of the highlights of the movie for me, and it sucks. And I'm glad you got to experience it because they kind of ruin it in the trailer. They put this part in the trailer. I wish I would have went in fresh because even just watching it, knowing what was happening, it still gave me fucking chills. This is where he goes to bed afterwards and he hears the fucking knocking on the door and he wakes up and the door just opens by itself. And then
Yeah.
it's just the hallway. You see, it's like his mom run across the hallway
I
real
was
quick.
like, what the fuck
And
is
then the lights
going
go
on?
out. The lights go out in the hallway, and you're like, "What the fuck is going on?" And then you hear like Peter, and he like the camera just moves slowly, and his dad's standing in the corner of his room, and then the
With that
flicking sound, and
fucking
his eyelids are
smile.
fucking flicking up and down like so
I was
fast.
like, where is this coming from? It comes out of nowhere. Like, you don't even
Oh, I'm
know
getting
that
chills just thinking about it, dude. How creepy it
you
was.
don't even know that it's a fucking dream. It turns out it's just him dreaming, but
Yeah,
like it
but
comes out of nowhere where it feels like that's just happening.
it's
It
like the
feels like,
sound of like you hear in cartoons when they like flip like blinds up. It's like
yeah, it's like,
it's like that because his eyelids just he's blinking so fast, and then he just stops. And then like the music goes quiet, and he's like, "Look what you did to your mother, Peter." And she's fucking standing there in the hallway. Her eyes are glowing with the big smile, and she's just standing so weird, bro. And then she starts running,
just
and
running
then
towards the door.
the lights go out, and all you hear is just the thumping of the running, and then it stops. And then she fucking bolts through the door and grabs him, and that's where you get like these weird visions, like other scenes that are happening. And of course, he wakes up and his mom's like holding him, like, "Oh, you're just dreaming, everything's okay." But it's like, where did this come from? Like, this set the
This whole
tone where
part was
I thought
crazy.
there was going to be more of this shit throughout the movie. I was looking forward to seeing more of this kind of shit because I was like, is there a demon in the walls? Is there like a ghost? Is there something that's making him see all this kind of shit? But it goes a completely different direction. And that's not the nitpick because I'm not going to get mad because it's not something I expected it to be.
Yeah,
But that's what I was expecting at this point in time because like yeah, it was a dream, but like why is he having that kind of dream? Is there something influencing like him in these dreams and stuff? So it's like I don't know. I thought there was a kind of a deeper cause for it than there actually was.
right. Like it adds up. It was literally just a dream.
Yeah, but it was easily one of the best scenes in the movie for me. I mean, it was so damn creepy.
Yeah. God, her running
um,
towards the door freaked me the fuck out
yeah,
too. Like you said, the lights just shut off, and you're like, "Oh my god!" You know she's gonna jump out. It's still scary as shit.
Yeah, I wish they would have kind of done that kind of stuff a little bit further, or at least went with that design a little bit. Because I love the aspect of like the glowing eyes with the smile and everything.
Yeah.
But the one you do get later is the one I'm kind of bummed about because it's not great at all. Mother wakes him up the next day, everything's fine, you think, and then like that night, like the sister tells him, you kind of get like these scenes of just the person in the wall talking to him, going back and forth. And I mean, this is where she says, like, they will eventually kill her, and then they're gonna eventually put him in the wall. And that
Hmm.
it's the same thing's gonna happen to him, and then who knows, they may have another kid eventually, and it's gonna be like a cycle.
Right.
He's like, well, I don't believe my parents are killers. Like, I don't believe they could kill anyway. She's like, you don't believe me? Go check the
Oh yeah.
garden.
Go check the garden.
Go check the garden then.
Go ahead.
And you're like, what the fuck's in the garden? He goes out and amongst the pumpkin patches and is digging and digging. And like meanwhile, like the mom's like searching upstairs, and that's where she like looks out the window and sees him out there, and she's like, wait a minute, why the fuck's he in
She's
the
like, "Oh
garden?
shit! What the fuck's he looking for?"
So it's just building tension because it's a race between like what he's trying to find and the mother trying to get outside to see what he's doing.
He's
But
digging and he's digging, and he
he
finds it.
he finds a skull
There's a
in the
skull.
garden. And you're like, "Oh my god, what the fuck? The parents are murdered." This confirms that the parents are murderers. Like, obviously, like what the fuck's going what's happening here? And then like of course like the mom comes out, she catches him, but he's sly enough to have that pumpkin
He's
ready.
like,
Like, I
"Oh,
know
I
I couldn't
just
go trick or treating, but could we, carve a jack-o'-lantern? Maybe
please,
possibly.
mom, can we do a jack-o'-lantern?" Like
Please,
he's just
mummy.
this little kid, like just instantly, he's playing the shit out of her, and she don't even say shit to him. I love it.
Yeah, she's just like,
She just like and turns around and goes on the fucking walks in the house just like, and I'm like, oh, that's exactly what a parent would have done. Be like, I know you're fucking lying.
I know you up to something. I just can't
I
prove
know
it
you're
right
up to
now.
something. I just can't prove it right now. But you like, you can't say nothing. So you're just like, he just
Yeah.
turned around and walked inside, bro.
And
I
you also get some more information from the sister afterwards, after like he finds the skull. This is where she reveals that the parents killed the missing girl because the missing girl came to the house trick or treating and ended up seeing the sister as she was trying to get out, as she was
Mhm.
escaping.
So they had
So
to
the
fucking
parents
kill her.
ended up having to kill the girl.
Had to
They
kill.
buried her in the garden. And you're like, Jesus Christ, like this goes for way deeper than you
Mystery
expected it to
solved.
go.
Now we
Mystery
know what
solved.
happened to the missing girl, and we
Yeah.
oh, now we know these parents are fucking psycho killers. Like it's just all connecting now.
Exactly. So you're like, okay, what can I expect from this movie? He knows the parents are killers. Something's going to happen. The parents are probably going to come for him when he tries to help the sister
What
escape.
about this
It's going to
girl
be
in
a
the
cat and
wall?
mouse. Yeah, it's going to be a cat and mouse between these two kids and the parents. Like the parents are going to try to kill them or something. Wrong. Wrong.
Wrong.
Wrong. I mean,
Hella
kind of
wrong.
right, but
No.
hella wrong.
Hella wrong.
Of course, the kid, he ends up like getting the math test. Peter finds the phone number, and man, that's the tense scene when he's like goes up to the parents' bedroom and he's like looking down the hallway with the phone. And he like calls Miss Divine. She wasn't expecting the call at all because as soon as she picks up, he's like, "Help me! You gotta get me out of here." And she's like, "Peter, is
Peter?
that you? What the fuck, man?"
Peter Parker?
And he's like, "I gotta get out." And as soon as he hears the creak, just hangs up the
Oh
phone.
shit.
And you're like, he looks down the hallway and there's nothing, but that fucking camera pans just over and into the
Oh
room.
my
And the
god.
mom's just sitting there, just like, what's
I
going on,
hate it.
Peter?
Why the fuck do they keep doing that shit? I'm like, oh,
Oh,
like,
God.
what are you doing? Who are you
And
calling? Like, what's going on? Like,
yeah. And like Miss Divine, of course, Miss Divine calls back. So like the mother answers the phone, like, oh, who is this? Yeah, I know Peter called you. I caught him. You know,
oh,
he's
he's
just,
silly. He's just,
you know, he's up
just
to his shenanigans again.
doing crazy things,
Yeah, and, like, what else are you gonna I mean, at this point, even though she didn't already, Miss Divine should be calling the fucking
I know.
cops.
Like, what the fuck? He called you. He used the number. You put breadcrumbs out, and he fucking followed them and called you, asked for help, and you still are just gonna be like, maybe I should just go back one more time and just see
Just
for myself
one
what's
more
going. No, bitch, call the cops. You should have had
right?
the fucking FBI in there. Like, oh my god, dude.
Fucking helicopter over top of the
Yes, SWAT
house,
team and
SWAT
shit.
team coming up in there.
Bust up in there, save that kid,
This movie
keep
would have probably been ended real quick.
keep the motherfucking thing in the wall. But other than that,
Yeah, I mean, we don't know about all that shit yet, though. We ain't there yet. But the mother is fucking going at him, like, oh my gosh, she's dragging him to his bedroom, and as soon as he gets to the bedroom, he goes immediately to that wall and like up against it, and she notices the hole, and that's where it clicks. Like
she's like,
she
oh
even says,
shit,
like, how much do you know? What did she tell
what did she
you?
tell you?
And as
And I'm
soon as
like,
she
oh
says
my
that, you're
god,
like,
dude,
she
this is
confirms
real,
there's something
real.
in the wall.
Like, yeah, because because you're like, yeah, I know I saw an eyeball, but I still don't know.
Kids could
Like,
see things. Like
yeah,
this
and
could
then
still
she's
be in
like,
his head.
what did she tell you? Like, whoa, dude, like,
Whoa.
what the
This
fuck?
confirms everything.
What is in the fucking wall? Like, what is going on right
And the
now?
way that she's acting reveal, like, it makes you think like there's something not right too
She's
about it. Cause
freaking out
she's
about it.
freaking out and she's like, you just wait. You just wait
Wait
until
till
your
your
father
father.
gets home.
Wait till your
And
father
you
gets
you're
home.
and at that point you're like, oh my God, what is he gonna do?
Oh
Are they gonna
shit,
kill Peter?
Homelander. Fucking Homelander's gonna come over laser
Because
vision his
like
ass.
I even have the quote. She didn't even say, she's just like, whatever happens is your fault.
I
And you just
know.
wait until your father gets
I
home.
was
And
like,
I'm like,
what
what
the
does that
fuck?
mean? What does
And
that
Peter's
mean?
like, oh hell no.
And the way that she's just like backing away, scared, and just slams her bedroom door shut, you're like, what does that mean? Like,
Yeah, I thought she was
so much
going
has
to the.
so much to process in this like couple minute scene.
At this point, I didn't know about the grandfather clock, about the door behind there. I knew there was something behind it, and I thought she was going there because earlier in the movie, you see her you see her closing it. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like, I thought there was something back there that she went, like, she was actually like in a different room type of thing. So like, when she in this scene when she's backed away and close, I thought she was gonna like retreating back to where the grandfather clock was and who knows? Who knows what the fuck was going on? You know what I mean?
Hmm.
But like, I just was like, man, something about that grandfather clock. I didn't know. I must have missed that exposition earlier in there because like I knew there was something with the fucking grandfather clock, but like
Yeah.
I didn't know that that door was behind there.
Yeah, so this is where like she even like because he's locked in his room, his sister in the wall tells him like this is it. Like now that they know that you know, they're gonna kill us both. Like you got to do
You're dead,
something
buddy.
ASAP. Like
You're
we're
dead.
both gonna get killed. And this is another part that like it was amazingly shot. The cinematography in this is amazing, and it gives me chills just thinking about this scene. Is whenever Peter is on the stairs watching his parents talking, and you see the shot of the stairs with the shadow of just his parents on him talking.
Hmm.
Such a great shot, and then it's just that slow zoom in on the parents talking, and as soon as it gets close. They like
They're
look
just like,
dead into the camera and look straight at Peter, and it
he's
gives me
running
chills. I
up
was
the
like,
stairs.
because you know what's going to happen. You know
You're
they're
like,
going to
oh
look. It's
god,
just a
he's gonna
matter of
get
when.
killed. He's gonna
And
get killed.
that's like the perfect kind of like that's what scares me in these times. Not just this movie, but like horror movies in general. Just building the tension where you're just holding on these shots just way too long, and you know something's going to happen. You just don't know when, and they
But
just
that's the thing.
it's perfectly timed.
That's when it's the best, is when you know shit's about to happen and it's still scary. That's the
Yeah,
fucking best because, like you said, it's the tension, it's the pauses, it's cutting the music or
yeah.
adding music. Like it's
And it's just
fucking
like there's
perfect
nothing that's
sometimes.
really super scary about it. It's just a slow
No,
shot in of those parents talking, but it's just Lizzie
it's
Kaplan's
like
just crazy eyes
psychologically, yeah.
that look, and it feels like they're looking at you,
Oh
like
my
whenever
god,
you're watching something you shouldn't, and they're looking at you, and
because
it's
you
like,
can't even hear what they're saying, so you could kind of hear. It's
yeah,
like you're eavesdropping, like as a viewer,
exactly. It puts you in
and
the
they're like,
position of Peter. It's
they're like,
perfect.
oh shit.
Yeah, oh no, they're coming for me. But like, and of course you see the shot throughout the movie, but whenever he runs up, you just have like the first person point of view running down the hallways and stuff.
Uh-huh.
It's perfect, man. And then he's like laying in bed, acting like he's asleep, and the dad comes and he's like, "I know you're not sleeping, Peter." And he's like,
Mhm.
we have something. He's like, we have a job to do tomorrow, and you're going to help me do it out in the garden. And you're like, oh my god, what is
Like,
he? He's going to kill him
oh
and
my
bury him in the
god.
garden like the other girl.
That he's out there fucking digging a hole, and I'm like, "Yo, he's making him dig his own
Dig his
grave
own
right now?
grave,
Is that
right?
really what's happening? Like,
Because he's
holy
like, we have
shit.
a problem that needs taken care of. You're gonna help me tomorrow. And you're like, oh my god,
Oh my
what
god.
is?
I am I the problem?
He's making this 8-year-old dig his own grave. Oh my god.
Is he talking about me? Am I the problem?" Like,
But he's like, he explains because they grow so many pumpkins that like black rot can infect the pumpkins, and if they don't just take out all the black rotted pumpkins and bury them, it could infect everything else. And I mean, it's kind of a double meaning. He's talking about the pumpkins, but you feel like he's talking about the kids as well because he even says, hopefully the next ones will grow and be better. He's like,
yeah.
you know, it's a cycle. You know, the next ones will hopefully grow up and be better than the last ones. And you're like, what the fuck is that supposed
And
to
he's just
mean?
looking
I
at
know
him
you're
just
not
like
talking about
he's like
pumpkins right now.
raising his eyebrows while he's talking. He's like,
Yeah,
"Hopefully the next ones will be better," you know.
bro.
We
And
got like,
we can't stress enough how creepy Anthony Starr is in this
yeah,
role. Like, he's so psychotic as Homelander, but this is a whole different kind of psychotic that he's playing in this movie. It's
yeah.
fantastic.
I loved it. I loved it.
And this goes to a scene that I wasn't expecting, and I still don't really like. And this is where the asshole kid and his brother, I'm assuming it's his brothers, roll up in front of the house in their van and start casing the joint. Where they're
Oh,
like, "Oh, is this the kid's house?" And they're like, "Yeah, that's it." And they're like,
as
"Okay."
soon as they rolled up, I this is before anything even pops off, bro. This
That's
is
what I'm
before
saying. Yeah,
anything even pops off. They rolled up, and I said to Kyrie, I was like, all four of them are dead.
yeah. That
All
as soon as I saw them roll up, I was like, "Wait." I did not expect this part of like I wasn't expecting this story to go like this as far as the
yeah,
kid coming back into play.
yeah.
But as soon as I
Kid
saw
on
them,
fucking crutches.
my thought was, okay, they're gonna break into the house and the mother and father are just gonna go on a serial killing
And
spree of
they're gonna
killing these
fuck
kids.
exactly what I thought.
He's-
I was like, they're gonna break in, and the mom and dad, or just the dad with his fucking hammer is
I
gonna
was excited
fuck
because I
off.
was like,
I
Anthony
was like,
Starr
yo.
and Lizzie Kaplan are just gonna be murdering these kids
But
when they
as
break into this
soon as I
house.
saw all four of them, I looked at Kyrie like, all four of them are dead. All
Yeah,
four of them.
they're done. So
Like, they're done. So these are nobodies. Like, we're just now seeing these fools. They're gonna go in
Right.
here, break it at. They're dunzos.
They're
Like,
casing the joint, but I was
and
not expecting that plot point of the movie at all. Like,
yeah,
that was kind of unexpected. But you have that night they're sitting down around the dinner table, like, they get the knock at the door, and it's trick-or-treaters. The mother's like, "Go away!
he's like,
We don't
"Go
want
the fuck away!
trick-or-treaters!"
Go away!" Oh my god, I love that shit. Like, she just runs to, like, "Go the fuck away!" Like,
"Get
just
the
like,
fuck away!"
she turned the
And
porch
then
light
she
off.
sits down, and they're eating, like, this gross, like, porridge or,
Oh,
like, oatmeal, like, gruel or whatever the fuck it is, and, like, they're
look,
eating
it's
like, I mean, he isn't eating much of it, but the parents and he's like, "Hmm." He's like, "Oh, the tastes a little different than normal." She's like, Is it bad? Like, you saying you don't like my cooking?" And he's like, "No, it just seems like it tastes a little different than normal." And she's like, "Yeah, I mean, I guess so." And, like, "It tastes a little sweet. It's kinda cinnamony." And you're like, "Oh my fucking god." As soon as he says it tastes like cinnamon, you're like, "Oh shit." Like, my eyes opened huge. I was like, "No
dog.
fucking way,
We're
bro."
watching this shit. Me and Kyrie. Kyrie pointed this out before I even figured it out, dude. Like, Kyrie's watching this and he's just like, the rat poison. And I'm like, and he's like, smells like cinnamon. And I'm like, I
Oh,
was like,
as soon as he
holy
said that, my
shit.
mouth my jaw dropped. I was like, "No
Kyrie
fucking
figured
way."
it out before I did. I was like,
And, like, the
holy
mom
shit.
doesn't even know about any of this, and you just see
Yeah,
the
she's
dad
like,
sitting
huh?
there. The
And
dad is
he's just like,
figuring it out. He's, like, looking
he's
around, he's like,
just
"Wait a
like
minute."
pondering,
And
watching
he's like,
her just
"Peter."
keep eating this shit.
Yeah, and he looks over and Peter's bowl is still full, and he looks down at his bowl and it's almost gone, and he's like, "Peter, did you
what
do something
what did
bad?
you do?
What did you do?" And he's, "I don't know what you're talking about." He's like, "What did you do?" And he's like, "Call the police, call 911." And she goes over and the fucking phone cord is snipped, bro.
I was like,
I,
oh
I want to know what year this is
shit.
in because nobody has, I mean, the teacher had a cell phone, but I guess the parents don't. They just have
Yeah,
the old ass landline
there's
on
some
there.
old school people.
Blew my mind that this thing in the wall convinced Peter to poison his parents. Cause like the dad immediately like
He
starts
just starts
just throwing up blood everywhere and
throwing up
immediately
his
dies on the table.
insides. Yeah, dude. Like, he like throws up his insides. Like, he's like, "Ah," and just dies, and he's
Yeah,
dead on the table
throwing up
there.
blood everywhere. And then, bro, this scene scared me too because the kid takes off and all you see is like the shadow of the mother grabbing the kitchen knife and
It
she just
just,
races out of the room. And I was like, oh my God,
but
what the
she's
fuck?
so fast, and like she's like, "Don't let her out" or something like that. Like,
Well,
I'm
she
just
gets
like,
up to the top of stairs and grabs him, and she's gonna stab him, and that's where she starts throwing up blood as well on the stairs. And he fucking kicks her in the face, and she goes down the stairs, and she ends up getting stabbed with her own knife when she falls. But that's
uh,
when he goes down to like check on her, and that's where she's like, "Don't let her out, don't let." And that's where it kind of clicks in your head, like,
you're like,
"Wait
yo,
a
they
minute,
are
why
more,
not? Why won't you let her out?
they're more
Something's not right."
right. You're like, she's dying, and she's worried about this thing getting out. Like,
That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
what
like,
the fuck is in the wall? Like,
what's
that's what.
in there?
And one of the best things
Oh,
about
I'm
this
getting
movie,
chills thinking about it, dude.
one of the best things about this movie is like the fact that there's so much shit going on where you're like, the shit, like, yeah, it's convincing, but like you almost forget that it's even there. Like, sometimes, like, you
Yeah,
forget that it's like there, and then when you think about it, it's like, oh, it's kind of like, is it the good guy? Are you trying to get this thing out? And then like
yeah,
they're like, oh well, they keep acting like you cannot get this thing. So but it, oh my god, like, I
yeah.
loved it,
As
dude.
soon as
Like,
she said, "Don't let it out," I was like, "What does
like,
that mean?" Because, like
what
you
the
said,
fuck?
she's in the midst of dying, and she says that like she's extremely worried about what's in that attic, and at that point, you're like, "Okay, maybe you shouldn't go behind that door and open up this shit," because this is easily the other ties that other scene for probably the creepiest moment of the fucking movie
This
for me.
scared the shit out of me.
When he goes and pushes that grandfather clock open and opens up that door and it just kind of slowly zooms into the blackness of that hole
I
and
was
you just
waiting
see
for
those
some shit.
eyes glow and the smile. I was like, "Oh my God, what the fuck is
Like,
that?" Like it
what
literally
is
like
that?
it gave me the same chills that like the same feeling I experienced when I watched Hereditary by myself for the first time and you saw the fucking mom up in the corner of the wall,
Yeah,
like whenever the kid wakes up in the middle of the night and she's barely there, you could barely see her just hiding.
yeah.
I got the same like creepy chills, like I felt like I was being watched or something when that's like you see the eyes and the
I
smile
hate
start glowing.
staring back into that black screen like that.
Oh, oh man, it gives me chills thinking
And
about it.
then because you're just looking for something. and you're like, you're not finding it. You're not finding it. You're
That's
not
what I was
finding
thinking.
it.
I was like,
And
I'm
then
looking for it, and then all of a sudden, those eyes.
fucking
I was like,
eyes
"What
and
the fuck is
smile.
that?"
And you're like, oh my God, he just starts fucking running. Like he just
And
takes
then you
off
hear,
running.
like, the cackling, like, the witch, like, "Ah, ah,
And
ah," and
she's
I'm like,
got this old voice.
"Oh my god, what the fuck is that?" Like,
The whole
everything
movie,
piled on top was
it's
so creepy.
it sounds like a little girl was stuck in the wall the whole
Yeah,
movie, you know, and all of a sudden it sounds like an old lady that's been in there for 90 years, and you're like, yo,
yeah.
what the fuck is
And
going
he's run
on?
into his room and shuts the door, and you just hear, like, the pounding on the f and pounding on the door,
Oh
and
my
then you hear
God. The
and
fucking
she's like
feet, like when she's like you
and the
hear that
pounding on the
every
door.
time she fucking runs, and it's just,
And then she's like, "What was it like watching them die, Peter?" And I was like,
oh
"Oh
my
my
God.
god, bro, like, this is so creepy."
What did he unleash?
What was it like watching them die? Just like the girl in the garden.
What did you unleash, Peter? And then it goes 0 to 100 from there, man, 'cause then that's when the fucking kids walk up to the house, and the door fucking opens up, and they're like, "Is this a trick? Are they punking us right now? Are they playing us?"
We're
And that's where
playing
they
dead.
go in and start smashing shit. They see the blood all over the table. The bodies are gone because as you saw, like, the body just gets dragged away.
Mhm.
And then this is where it's just kinda turns into a slasher, and these kids are just getting taken out one by one. One kid gets fucking sucked under the piano and just blood splatters
It's
across
just,
the floor
and I'm like, "Oh
instantly.
my God."
Yeah, the one kid's walking across the room and you just see the thing crawling across the wall on the back.
Yeah, I was wondering if you saw that.
Yeah.
That freaked the fuck out of me because it's, like, pitch black in the room, and he's walking, and it's barely visible, but you could see it in the background moving across the room, like,
Mhm.
behind him, and I was like, I'm getting chills right now thinking about that shit, dude, like, it fucking freaks me out, like, when they
And
I
yeah,
love when they
and
put
while
shit like
she's
that in
taking
it.
these people out, that other guy's searching Peter's room, like, for him, and then, like, as soon as, like, he ends up finding him, that's when the other kids start getting killed, and then the dude ends up piecing out to help his buddies out.
Yeah,
But it like, the other creepy part is, like, the actual kid, like, the kid that broke his leg that's in the house, he can't really run or do anything, he's just sitting there, and that door opens, and you see the mom's body, like, squished into that cabinet,
yeah,
and
and he
that's where you
starts
see, like,
freaking out.
the hair come down around him, and the spiders and the hair and everything. Oh, dude, it's so creepy how that's done, like, the super long, like, Rapunzel, like, net ratty hair with the
Oh,
spiders in it and everything. But, yeah, these kids just get taken out one by one. And then, of course, like, she ends up going up on top of the bed, and, like, you just see the hair, like, draped down in front of the bed, and he's laying underneath there. And then, like, the fucking pumpkin drops with the fucking head in the pumpkin and
she's
everything.
like, "Here's a present for you," or whatever the fuck she says, and, like, it's the one kid's fucking head, dude. Oh my God. And, like, you we
Yeah.
passed over it, but we missed the one part where he's under the bed watching the one kid die, like, he's running, he what in the
Yeah, he gets
hallway.
thrown into the wall and then runs out,
Mhm.
and then he comes back and his head's
And,
gone
yeah, and the one time he comes back and he's just no head and he falls, and then she comes in with the pumpkin and puts the fucking pumpkin down with his head
with the
in it.
head and then everything.
Oh my God.
Oh, dude, it's so creepy. It's just like all you see is just like her with the hair down in front of her face, and it looked like it reminded me of what was that? It was like The Ring, kind of in a way,
Yeah,
like the way that she walks with all the long hair. It reminds me of that. It also reminds me of like the Evil Within game. The one boss in there is like this creepy lady with long hair, and she walks around like a spider, and it's very reminiscent of
ugh,
this in a way. It,
God,
it
it's very freaky.
it's very freaky. Now, as freaky and as crazy as this is, I would say this is the part of the movie that probably doesn't work for me nearly as much because I feel like you built three quarters, almost 80% of this movie up as like this slow burn, tension filled, like super eerie and creepy movie, and then it completely flips into like kind of a slasher. It goes into a whole different kind of tone. I don't know. I just wasn't a big fan of the way that it kind of switched gears like that, and then it turns
Yeah.
into a slasher. Because then you're wondering, like, what are the rules here at this point? I mean, this lady couldn't get out from behind some fucking like
Drywall?
drywall, but she's able to pull a kid a fucking piano and just smear blood across the wall super fast. She could climb on walls. She could fucking like punch through a door pretty much like at that one
Yeah,
point.
that's what I was wondering as well. Is like, how did the walls just keep her back? Like, it just doesn't
That's
make
what
any
I'm
sense.
saying. Like, what are the rules? Because it seems like she's super strong. I mean, obviously, it's not super realistic because you have a fucking weird woman that's been living in the wall for how
Right,
long?
it's a
She's
fucking
climbing the
movie,
walls
but
and shit.
still, like, I want some
Yeah,
logic. I want to know what,
yeah.
like, if I'm
I
supposed
I
to
I
be
liked.
invested in this shit.
Yeah, I just wasn't a fan of the way that it switched gears and completely switched tone compared
Bef-
to the whole rest of the movie, which
Before
I
we get
really
to it,
enjoyed up to that point.
I I hated the ending. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Oh, you hated? Well, okay, okay. We'll actually get there because after she puts the fucking pumpkin down, everything, this is where she ends up like fucking just dragging Peter in, locking him in the walls. He's
Yeah, she
locked in
throws
there
him in the
now.
fucking wall, so he's in the fucking wall now. He's gonna turn into a Spider Boy. He's gonna be
Yeah,
Spider Man.
he's gonna be Spider Man. He's gonna be the bad Spider
Peter
Man.
Peter Parker. Holy
Yeah,
shit!
his name is Peter. Holy
Holy
shit, he
shit!
could be Spider Man.
It all makes
But she
sense
puts
now.
Peter in the walls and locks him in. And of course, right on cue, this is where Miss Divine comes back. This is where
Yeah,
she shows up to
without
the
the
house.
cops.
Without the cops, of course. The cops never show up during this whole movie at all.
They don't exist in this universe.
But she goes to the house, and that's where she's searching around. She finds the fucking all the blood in the kitchen where the dad puked up everything. I would like to know what happened to the bodies. Like you would think I was waiting for like the bodies to do like them to be set
We
up in
saw
some. I mean,
one.
the mom scares the kid, but I was waiting for like the body of the dad to be set up in some kind of
Yeah,
way to
we
scare
never saw the
someone.
body of the dad.
Yeah. But she goes in the house, finds the blood, and that's where like she ends up getting slashed, and then the thing's coming after her and everything, of
She's
course.
like calling 911. She is finally calling 911. And it slashes her, she drops her phone and then like fucking forgets about it. And like you even
Yeah.
see it laid on the ground later on, and I'm like,
She's actually gonna leave, and that's where she hears Peter screaming upstairs. So she's like, fuck, I gotta go and rescue Peter.
I'll go back.
And this didn't really make, I mean, I don't know. This teacher must have been super duper strong. She must have been fucking getting them gains on during in between this because she like grabs a fucking whatever, like a crowbar or whatever, and she runs up into his room where she hears him through the hole. And while she's smashing through this wall, the fucking monster, as fast as this monster is, she's running around the house fucking killing people.
Yeah.
She bolts up into the room, opens the door, and is sprinting through the walls trying to get to Peter before the teacher can get to him first. So somehow this teacher smashes a big ass hole in this drywall in the time that it takes for that fast monster to get to Peter through the walls. Where I was like, I don't know about all that now. I feel like
Right.
that monster totally would have got to that kid before she even would have got a hole in that wall.
Right, exactly. But it's a movie, so
It is a movie. Yeah, that's
we'll
true.
fucking move past that. You know what I mean? But I felt the same way. I'm like, there's no way she's not fast enough to catch her or to catch him before she gets through that wall. You know,
Yeah, and
but
I mean, you thought she was going to be though, but as soon
yeah,
as she got Peter, she's running down the stairs. As soon as she gets outside the house, she looks around. Peter's getting
she's
sucked
like,
right back in. No. And this
no.
time, the fucking monster's just like, nah, I ain't locking you up in that hack. I'm locking you in the fucking basement this time, bitch. Takes him right down to the cellar and puts him straight into that, like, what
In
was
the
it, like
cage that we
20-foot
saw
pit in
earlier.
that cage, the huge pit with like the
Hmm.
super thin walls and everything.
That shit is deep, bro.
Deep,
Like
super
deep.
deep. And this is where like he finds the teddy bear and he sees the on the tag the name Sarah. So you find out she actually had a name and everything. And it is true that it was his sister. And that's where like she fucking creeps down into the well. And man, this kind of ruined it for me because you see her face and man, the design was so bad in my opinion. It
Yeah, it
doesn't
looked
look
very
good at all.
CGI.
Very CGI, and just I feel like even if they would have kind of did it practically, I just wasn't a fan of the design of it. It
Yeah, it
just
looked like a
wasn't
spider.
creepy. Kind of,
It shouldn't
yeah.
have. It shouldn't have looked like a spider. If it did, it should have been a real face looked like a spider. But her face was like
Yeah.
like Stewie, like it was almost like
Yeah,
she
it
was
looked like oval, like a football head.
yeah, like she was
Hey, football head.
fucking football head. Like, but like but also tried to make her look like a spider. But like, I think it was much better never seeing the face and only seeing the eyes and the smile. Like, I would have been fine never seeing the
It
face.
worked a lot better, like what we mentioned earlier, where you see the dream that the kid had with the mom, where she had the glowing eyes and the smile. I feel like
Yeah.
that worked way better
Yeah.
than the face reveal on this. I feel like they either just should have went with a more practical design and make it look creepy, or just don't show the face at all. I feel
Yeah.
like being ambiguous and just having the hair with the spiders was creepy enough. You didn't really need to see her
Didn't
face.
need to see her face at all.
Yeah, I mean, I was cool with not seeing much of her at all because during those scenes where she was taking out those people where you're not seeing her, I feel like it worked. It was creepy, like
Yeah.
the less is more approach, like the
Yeah.
Jaws type approach that you have. But they had to go all out. They had to show her face and everything. But yeah, I mean, this is where like fucking the Miss Divine comes right back down again. She's like, I'm gonna get your ass. She comes into the basement. Fucking, of course, Sarah's going to attack her. And she's being like, it reminds me of like the Evil Dead movie where like they're being super creepy the way she's like sniffing up her body and stuff. Like she's being creepy about it. But then Peter gets the good idea to be like straight like Rapunzel. He starts
He's like,
climbing up her hair to get out of the pit.
and she's like, ah! That whole time that he was climbing, why wasn't she swinging? She's standing there
That's what
just
I'm saying.
watching. And then as
She
soon
should
as
have
he
been
gets up
beating
out of
the
the hole,
hell.
she's like, then she starts hitting. But I'm like, you could have been beating this shit out of her for a good 20, 40 seconds, like
Yeah, and she was
beforehand.
beating her, but she should have like the way the thing that she had, she should have been stabbing too. She was
Yeah.
just smacking. She should have been stabbing. I like, come on now. But we
Ridiculous.
didn't mention like whenever she was in the pit, Sarah was in the pit talking with. That's where she was like, over the course of all these years of me being in the pit, this is where I kind of trained myself to like get the strength to like
To
do what
climb,
she does
to
to
see in the
climb,
dark,
to
to
see in the dark,
yeah,
and
to do
like
all this shit.
this is where she gets her powers from, I guess,
The
is being
fucking
locked in this
the hole.
basement
You got your
in the
powers from the
hole.
hole.
Spider-Man's like, not impressive.
Not impressed.
I got bit by a radioactive
Can you
spider.
shoot webs? No. Oh, you have long hair. Oh, because you
But we
haven't
also
cut it.
mentioned like, what was the real story behind the missing girl too? Was it actually the parents that killed her, or was it Sarah that got loose and killed the girl, and the
Yeah,
parents
true.
just had to cover it up?
We don't
So
know.
maybe the parents weren't evil
They
at
were
all,
evil
really.
as
They were just
shit.
trying to. I mean, they were
Everybody,
kind of.
even the little kid, because he poisoned the shit out of his parents.
But maybe they weren't the murderers. They were the ones that were just kind of covering up for the daughter.
Maybe.
And that's why I'm assuming that's why the fucking father was bleeding like crazy, because he had to go up and feed the daughter or something and got cut or bit or sliced up or something.
Maybe. I don't know.
Because I mean, you feel like maybe the parents had some sort of control over her. Maybe because of the parents were doing this to her and like putting her through that trauma. Maybe the parents were the one thing that she was actually kind of afraid of. But since they're out of the picture because of Peter, she's able to go wild.
She can
She's
do
able to
whatever
have
the
free
fuck she.
reign.
Right. I don't know.
Exactly.
Yeah, that makes sense because, like I said, like why was she up there in the first place earlier? You know, like
I would have just
saw
kept her in that pit. Why put her in the walls at all? Like the pit's gonna hold her. Like
They're feeling generous.
what was the thought process behind? Okay, she can climb. She's a spider. She obviously has above average strength. Maybe we should keep her in the pit full of concrete instead of putting her behind drywall.
Let's put her in the wall. Yeah, put her in the wall. That's
She'll have more. She has more room to walk around inside of the walls.
Put her in the walls. Like what the fuck?
What is the thought? I mean, at that point, you're bad parents because you're kind of disowning her because of the way she looks and her deformity and everything. 2, you're locked her inside of a basement and inside of a walls, and you also covered up a body of a missing child. At that point, why don't you just kill her? If you're the parents, why don't you just kill the daughter instead of going through all this bullshit?
And this is my problem with the end of the movie. This is my main problem with the fucking
That
end of
was
the
like
movie.
my reasoning after figuring out all these things. Like, why wouldn't the parents just initially kill the kid? Like, kill that child. That way they don't have to worry about it. Their other child wouldn't even have any thought about it. He wouldn't have nightmares and things scratching in the walls. They could have prevented this whole thing if they would have just killed the kid in the first place.
Bro, I know. That's how I feel about it. And we'll get to it here, but like I hated the way that it just ended, man. I hated it.
I mean the ending here, of course, as we mentioned, Peter climbs up her hair like old fairy tale shit, climbs up, and of course, as soon as he gets up there, the teacher ends up beating the fucking hell out of Sarah and doesn't kill her. They just end up pushing her back into the pit and locking the pit.
Lock the goddamn pit, okay? And it's like, okay, you're locked. You're in there. You're solid. She's
It
not a.
reminded me of Halloween 2018 where they got Michael Myers in the basement
He's
with the
just
bars, and then they lit the whole house on fire, and that's
he's
how it
just
ended.
staring up at
Except
the
they
fuck.
didn't light the house on fire. They just locked her
No,
in the pit.
but you lock her in this fucking pit. She's not a goddamn shapeshifter. She can't contort her. She could contort her body, but she's not
She can't
getting
get
out
through
of
the
here.
bars.
She's not getting fucking out of here. Okay. Period. One, whatever. You could leave her in there forever. Two, you could just kill her ass. Okay.
Kill her
Like you
ass.
said, you could just fucking kill her. Okay.
Yeah, do
Three,
what the parents should have did a long time ago.
she fucking wins because she fucks with this kid's head and she says some psychological shit like, you could leave
See,
me
I
here.
actually kind of like this
You could
part.
leave me here, but you'll always wonder.
You'll
You'll
see
al-
me in every dark
you'll
corner,
see
and
me
every creak,
everywhere.
and every noise at night. You
Always
will wonder if
wonder.
I'm there.
Wonder if it's me. You'll never be able to sleep. It'll
And
be
you're getting like those flashes of just like
him
a
just
vision of
looking.
of the possibility of him walking around his room and like her in the background and popping up behind him in his bed and everything. And then
I'm
it
like,
ends. It just
and it just
ends.
fucking ends. And I'm like, I just felt left fucking high and dry.
Yeah, I mean,
I felt
I'm kind of 50-50 on it because I hate how it just abruptly ends
it
because
just
there's no resolution to
ends.
it. There's no resolution other than, okay, we just locked you in a basement. But on the other hand, I really dig the idea of her getting in his fucking head and just like throughout your whole life, you're going to be wondering, am I
I
there? Am
guess.
I around every turn? And am I like, that's going to fuck him up forever. Like this kid is going to be screwed up for the rest of his life because of this, unless they kill this thing, which is like,
Even if
you
they
should probably
killed
should
it,
do.
even if they killed it, it would probably fuck with him
You're probably still going to be wondering, like,
because he's like,
could
isn't
it
really
come back?
dead.
What's the
Yeah,
possibility? Yeah.
who knows
I
what that
like
thing is
that
capable of?
aspect of it. Yeah, I wasn't a fan of them just putting it in a pit and then it just ends abruptly. There's no resolution as far as like what happens to it then. I'm assuming, I mean, maybe not with the fucking how badly it did because of the no marketing and no everything. Maybe there won't be a sequel. My guess is maybe they were hoping there would be a sequel to kind of build off of this, and that's why they did it. But as of right now, my guess is there may not be a sequel because of how poorly it
I
did.
mean, I like how it was like very self-contained, you know.
Yeah.
But I wish I would have got a little bit more of the ending fleshed out. I wanted more of an ending. I wanted to know what happened to him afterwards. Like I
Yeah.
just wanted to know more about the ending. You can't just fucking lock that thing in there, not kill it, not even leave the room. Like they just ended it. Like
Yeah.
like I'm like, what the
You could have still did exactly what they did there. But instead of ending and cutting the credits, you cut to like, okay, you go out, the police come or whatever.
Yeah, he's like
He
at an
goes away
orphanage or
and then
something.
he's at an orphanage. It cuts to like a year or a month later. He's in an orphanage at night. A storm's happening and all you hear is like a noise or a scratch on a wall or
Even
something. And he
yes.
looks over and then it ends.
Yeah, even
Like
if it's as ambiguous as that, like you don't even actually see her, you just
yeah,
hear something, and it's him. Like,
he looks at the door or like the wall. You hear a scratch on the wall or on a window and
yes,
he
that
looks
would have been
up
a
and
much
that's how
better
it ends.
ending. That would have been much fucking more satisfying. But this just ends like right there, like right fucking
Yeah.
there. Oh my
That way it
god,
would have left it a little bit more ambiguous.
I
Like,
was like,
okay,
what the
is she
fuck?
still in the pit? Did she get loose? That's your kind of sequel bait you could have let off with instead of just like, okay, we're just ending in the basement now. We couldn't really think of anything else to do. It was like, how much money could it have been to just fucking make a scene like a month later? He's in an orphanage.
I know, right? That's what I'm
Or he
saying.
gets adopted and he's at a new house or something and he's like in his bedroom and he's scared and his foster parents are tucking him in and then that night in his window or
That's my
some
only
noise
knock
happens.
on the movie. I loved it all the way up into that. I loved everything else
Yeah,
about the movie.
I mean, other than that, just the ending, I wasn't a huge fan of just the actual like the tonal shift into the slasher
Yeah,
ending
true.
of it.
I
I
did
wasn't
I
a huge
didn't
fan
mind
of that.
that necessarily, but I do see what you mean. But I didn't
Yeah.
mind it
I mean, I didn't
necessarily.
hate it. I understand what they were going for, and I mean, it works because I like a good twist, and the twist definitely worked for me. I just wish I feel like they could have made it creepier. I wish they could have kept that tension and atmosphere they had the whole movie instead of kind of making it just a balls out, like she's
Yeah.
going around killing everybody. I feel like they could have kept that tension and suspense and made her even creepier
Yeah.
going around and slowly picking off these. You could have had kind of the slasher element, but make it creepier, stalking these people. And like, I don't know. I feel like just that tone switch, it's kind of jarring compared to the rest of the movie. And honestly, I mean, I'm not going to complain because it's not something I was expecting, but I would have been all out. I would have been down for what we mentioned, just the fucking the parents taking out those kids in the
Yeah.
house, and then while the parents are taking out those kids, Peter helps free his sister if it is his actual sister, and then once the parents kill the other kids, they have to go hunt down their own kids. And then it's just like them trying to get free, and maybe Miss Divine comes in and then has to help them get out. I don't know. I feel like that would have worked and at least kind of kept to the somewhat realism of the movie that was leading up to that point. But I understand you probably wanted to kind of create your own monster, possibly have some possible sequels, and maybe make this kind of a franchise sort of thing. You know how these things
Yeah,
are.
that's what I was thinking about during like the end there. I was like, this it's created an original movie monster. Like I'm
Yeah,
watching the birth of a movie monster here, like because
exactly.
it was creepy, it was like scary, it was fast. Like this is something that you could have, like you could
Yeah,
base this
this is
shit.
something I can see fucking 3 sequels or 4
Yeah,
sequels coming out of it. Yeah, like,
exactly.
and the only same thing, like, the only constant is this Sarah killer thing,
Yeah,
monster
yeah,
through
yeah,
every movie.
exactly, exactly. This thing in the wall. Like what the
Yeah, this
fuck?
thing in the wall, and then it's
But
either terrorizing Peter through each movie or it finds another family or something.
overall, I thought it
Who
was pretty
knows?
fucking good, man. I did like the movie.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like we're kinda tearing it down, but, I mean, you as much as we were hyping the movie up and loving on it throughout this whole conversation, we got to sit here and kind of give the other side of it. There are some
Yeah,
issues
I
with the
gotta be
movie.
honest of how I
We got to
felt.
be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are
And
some
and
issues with it.
you anybody watching this might feel completely different about it, and that's
Yeah,
perfect. That's why we
yeah. I
even
mean,
do
I
this
went
shit,
on
like
Reddit because as I tend to do with a lot of movies, I end up really liking. I go on Reddit, kind of seeing like other people's thoughts on it.
yeah.
A lot of people fucking hate this movie. A lot of people thought this movie was trash,
I loved
but
it, man.
a lot of like actual like the people I follow on Twitter and everything though were hyping this movie up. Like you
Yeah.
got to check this out. Like this is I can easily see this being somewhat of a regular like Halloween or like October viewing type movie. I feel
Yeah.
like this is kind of a perfect October spooky movie to put
It
on,
was creepy, man.
especially set around like Halloween with all the pumpkins and like everything. I think it's a super creepy movie. It just has some issues that I kind of nitpick, and some shit I didn't really like, and the kind of the direction I wouldn't have went in if I was making it. But overall, I thought it was a really well crafted movie. I think it was put together really well. I think the pacing was really well done because, like you mentioned, it is a slow burn through like that first like half hour or so.
Yeah.
But once it picks up, it gets you to the next plot point real quick. Once you start kind of thinking you're figuring it out with Peter as you're going along. I was entertained throughout the whole thing, and it genuinely creeped me out in certain spots. It has a lot of creepy moments, and I think I can't wait to see what else this director can go out and do, and I'm eager to see what he does next.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And I felt the same way. Like the whole time I was watching it, the beginning, like you said, it was a little bit slow where I'm like, okay, like I found myself like my mind wandering at certain points where I was like
Yeah.
watching the movie, but I was thinking about something else, and then I had to be like, no, whoa, whoa, get back, pay attention. You know what I mean? Like that type of thing where
Yeah.
and then at a certain point where I was like I was like this, like holy shit, like waiting for the next thing, like getting goosebumps through shit,
Yeah.
like you said, jaw dropping moments where I was like, this is insane. This is a ride. It was entertaining the entire way through, regardless of how it ended. I was invested the whole fucking time.
Mhm.
I would recommend it to anybody who enjoys Halloween type movies. It was great. It's not a like family friendly one, but it's not, there's no nudity or anything like that. Like, so
Yeah.
it's like, as long as you're okay with a little bit of gore, you could watch it with like your preteens, your 13,
Yeah, like,
14
I
year
didn't even
olds, you
think
know.
about it, like, I didn't even think about it until you said, like, you watched it with Kyrie. I was like, "Yeah, this was kind of, like, somewhat of a safe
Yeah.
horror movie to, like, introduce to, like, at
And
least teens or, like, younger kids, I
I always
guess. Not,
Google
like, super young, but, like, it's tame compared to what else is out there, I feel like.
right. I Googled it first. I was like, does this have any nudity? It's like, nope. And I'm like, all right,
Technically,
cool.
it's tamer than Swamp Thing that we'll
Yeah, that's
be
what I'm
reviewing
saying, dude. A
eventually.
PG-13 fucking or a PG movie or whatever the fuck. But we'll get the Swamp Thing then. But
Swamp Thing
yeah,
will be a Heroes of Our Time episode down the line for those that have been following the channel. It's definitely tamer than that movie, which we'll get to. But I mean, I really enjoyed it. It was really entertaining. I definitely recommend this. I know we usually do it like a buy it, rent it, or miss it.
see, I would probably say Rent
I would
on
say
this one,
rent. I wouldn't say it's a good enough as of a buy. Like maybe I would buy it to add it to a collection eventually.
but I would
But for the
probably
casual
rent it.
like yes, for the casual horror fan, I would just say go out and rent this movie. I would say don't miss it though. This is one I
No,
wouldn't say definitely don't miss because I mean I think it was genuinely entertaining. It's definitely one of the top horror movies I've seen in the past couple of years.
yeah.
I think it's definitely had a lot of some original stuff in there and genuinely some creepy scenes that I will remember for that'll stick with me for quite some
Yeah,
time. I
like you said,
feel
I
like.
think some of the cinematography in it was like very well done. So it's things that like that are gonna stick with you. And when you
Mhm.
rewatch it, it's gonna be like, yes, this is the scene that I was waiting for. Things like that. So I would
Yeah.
recommend it to anybody who enjoys things like this, like Halloween type movies like that.
Yeah, I'm actually eager to watch it, because Annette didn't get to watch it maybe when I watched it, so I'm actually eager to show it to her and see what she thinks.
Yeah,
And I'm also eager just to watch it to see if there's maybe anything I missed, like, as throughout like, maybe any clues or something that I may have
right,
missed throughout the whole thing.
right.
Um, but yeah, I highly recommend this movie. Is there any other thoughts that you have, Vern, on
Nah,
the flick?
man. I just like you said, I'm ready for October on this channel, man. For any of the videos that I'm in, I'm not in. I'm excited for all the Halloween reviews. So I stay tuned. It's gonna be awesome to see everything that comes through here.
Yeah, I mean, you're definitely gonna be involved in a couple more reviews here this month. I'm not gonna divulge all the reviews that we have planned. I want to leave, keep some of
It'll
them
be a
close to the chest.
surprise.
Gotta
Exactly.
keep it some surprise a little bit. But I
Exactly.
can announce next week's. As everybody knows, next week is Friday the 13th.
I
And for
know.
those that have followed the channel earlier this year, when Friday the 13th happened, Alex was on the channel and we reviewed Friday the 13th part 1 and 2. Well, since there's another Friday 13th happening, perfectly set in October,
Perfect.
perfect timing. Me and Alex is coming back once again. It's been a while since he's been on a channel, everything going on with his wedding and
Oh
just,
yeah.
work and
Super
whatnot.
busy.
He's super busy. So it's going to be a kind of a homecoming for Alex, and he's coming on, and we're going to be reviewing Friday the 13th, part 3 and 4, which is one of my two favorite Friday the 13th movies. And I cannot wait to talk about those.
Mm,
So be on the lookout for that. That releases the Wednesday of the week of Friday the 13th. I forget what day that is. 1 second. It is the 11th. So be on the lookout on October 11th. That review will drop. And then, of course, there's going to be some other reviews dropping once a week. And I'll probably maybe have an extra review coming out maybe every other week or each week. Who knows? I haven't really planned those extra reviews out of right now, but I normally do some extra stuff here during this month just because I love watching horror movies and putting content out for everybody. For those who haven't already, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Go check us out on Twitter and Instagram at Cinema Trip Reviews. Also, check us out wherever you get your podcasts because, I mean, we're available everywhere. Drop in and leave us a good review and go make sure to tell your friends and your friends' friends. Get the word out. The Cinema Trip has a review every single week, man. We got tons of content out there. And if you haven't already, make sure to go check out our speed review with Tony from Hack the Movies and also his Speed 2 Cruise Control review over on his channel if you did watch that review. So there is a kind of a two-part. If you watch our speed review, go to his channel and check out the Speed 2 review.
mhm.
But yeah, as always, I am Wyatt. This is Vern, and this is Cinema Trip Reviews, and we'll see everybody next week.